What's going on, people, and welcome to a brand new episode of Too Many Games and Not Enough Time, the podcast where we get to speak to incredible gamers across the globe. Once again, thank you for all of the love on the channel and for all of the love on the podcast. Remember, if you're listening to us on any of those podcast services, come over to the YouTube, give us a thumbs up, drop in the comments, and come and join the Discord. But forget about all of that right now, because I want to introduce our incredible guest. Now, on today's episode, we have one of the hosts of the PlayStation Drive. You can find him chatting Xbox with that assemble dude. He is one of 3 dads with more than one console. He's a gamer, a dad, Canada stand up. Cool. Welcome to Too Many Games and Not Enough Time.
Well, I have to say that's the best intro I have ever been given in my life, and I don't think it can ever be topped.
Thank you. Thank you. I do try. So firstly, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on. I know it's super early over there. How you feeling?
I'm fine. Actually, for me, my daughter gets up at like 6:30 in the morning. So this is like, it's been like 3 hours of my day already. I'm good. I'm good to go.
All right, cool. So let's get straight into it. All right. So one of the things that really interests me is when I first saw you, it was kind of doing a lot of kind of Xbox centric content, but actually digging into what you do and researching you and stuff like that, like you do every console. Like you love your Xbox, but you are as big as a PlayStation guy and your trophies, and I know you play on the Switch as well. Where do you get all of this time to dedicate to these 3 consoles?
Honestly, I don't know anymore because now that my daughter, I have a 5-year-old that's just gotten into gaming. So her new thing is that Disney Dreamlight Valley. So she has taken over this office that you're sitting where we're doing this. She comes home, she gets up in the morning, she plays Disney Dreamlight Valley. She comes home from school, she plays Disney Dreamlight Valley. So for me, my time as a parent has to be on games where I get value back. So I always make a joke that I play everything on easy mode because I just don't have time to play any of those games. Like Elden Ring, when it dropped, I was like, yeah, that game is not for me. It has nothing to do with the game being bad. It's just I know there's no way I have enough time to be punished. So I usually go back to like the steadfast of the Ubisofts because like I feel like I'm getting something from the time. I just recently had to stop playing a game because I got tennis elbow.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing. That's like Nintendo farm.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I used to get that way back in the day on this the Super Nintendo. That's definitely a thing. The calluses that used to build on the thumb. When Street Fighter came along, that's when I learned what it was like to get Nintendo thumb. But I've been playing MLB The Show for forever, since it's launched. And it was the first game for sports-wise that didn't try and take my money. Because as you know, those games like FIFA and NHL and Madden, as soon as they drop, for some reason, it's all pay to win. And this one wasn't. And I was like, I got enthralled for the first time ever. I'm usually story driven, and that's where I stick my hat and I just play the games that I have. And then for some reason, I got enthralled in this. And that game was available on Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. And I could play it and it didn't matter. Like my save transferred, so it was beautiful. I was playing it so much that on my Xbox, it recorded that I was at 378 hours. On my PlayStation, I was at 423 hours, and on my Switch I was at 33 hours, and I started getting pains in my arm, and I was telling Matt this, so I had to delete it off my console on Monday. I went away last week and I couldn't play anything, and I came back and I played like 1 inning and my arm started hurting again, and I'm like, because of this a repetitive, it's just you're just pressing one button. It's pretty much what you do in the game. And my arm was like, nah, this 43-year-old decided it's no longer able to play those type of games. So I had to delete it for the first time ever, a game off my console.
That is like the formula of old man shit when you're like, my game is damaging me.
Yeah, like 100%.
All right, let's break some of these games down. Now, firstly, I hear you blaming your daughter about Disney, but I've heard you talk about it, how much you're loving the time with it, how you've been waiting for her to come in so you can play it yourself. So what is it about this game that you really love? Is it more kind of Animal Crossing-esque, or is it more kind of Sims-esque?
So as someone that's never played Animal Crossing but used to play Sims way back in the day on the PC, it's very Sims to me, But this is the first year, and I've said this to Matt, my co-host on the PlayStation Drive a lot, where when someone says, "Oh, what's your game of the year?" I'm gonna be like, "What's the most fun I've had?" And this game has brought so much fun that I've been able to share with my daughter, and it's very important to be able to spend time with her. The last thing I want to do is when she comes home from school is be doing other things that is not involved with her, and we're able to share this. And so she sits down and she gets so excited. Like we just unlocked, who did we unlock yesterday? Ratatouille. And she thought it was the greatest thing. And then she can't really read what the subtitles are saying, so I have to read it to her. So it's almost like we're playing together, and I don't play it without her, but I know that we'll progress in this game. And she, like, we already have a goal. We're trying to unlock Frozen before we go to Disney next Wednesday. So I'm leaving to take my daughter to Disney for the first time next week. And we're trying to unlock as many characters as possible, because I may or may not bring my Surface laptop so that we can play this while we're still in Florida. And that's the other thing. Like these games like this, I'm able to just play them wherever we go. I really enjoy video games right now.
I really love that. And I'll tell you why I really love that quote. Like on Too Many Games, I've spoken to so many gamers, and every single person I talk to about how their gaming journey started is always linked to some kind of family member. Could be a cousin, could be a parent, could be a mum, whatever, like a spouse, a brother, a sister. It's always linked, and she's always gonna have that now. Like if she grows up and always plays games, if it's something she jumps in and out of, but she's always going to have that experience from that relationship that you lot have bonded through the game. So that's really, really special, man. And I love that a lot. All right, on my show notes, right, the only thing I've got on my show notes for you is MOB the show. Now I've never ever heard anybody talk about a game so much in my life. Like the amount of times I've watched the PlayStation Drive, incredible show. Make sure you people go and check it out. You talk about this game like it's the newest game that's ever come out, and it's just gripped you. Like you said, you've got it on every single console. Why? And I've heard you talk about it, but for the people who are hearing from you for the first time, what is it about this game that's really captured you?
Oh, well, so I'm an OG gamer, so I've been playing sports games since the NES, like when RBI Baseball was out, and it's just, this is the first game that valued my time. A lot of the sports games nowadays got these gotcha mechanics with your loot boxes, or they call them packs, but they're definitely loot boxes. Like, let's be honest here. And I will say that MLB The Show, as the game has progressed, I have noticed the 1 in 10 odds of getting what's called a diamond card have kind of like dissipated. When the game first launched, you'd be dropping diamonds left, right, and center, which hooks you into the game. But now when I was opening packs just recently, I'm like, yeah, nothing is coming. I'm getting no good cards. But you're able to play the game without putting money into it. So when I was playing, I play NHL as a Canadian. It's a game that we all play all the time, NHL hockey. The EA game, you can't progress in that game without putting money into it to get the good cards, to have the good players to play. But in MLB The Show, I'm able to just grind it out. Like as a gamer, we all know how to grind. So I'm able to grind it out, play innings, and I play 3 innings at a time. And that's how long the games are. They're only 3 innings. So that's where it also gets you. Instead of a whole 9-inning game, you just play 3 innings, and then you get experience points no matter what you do in the game. So whatever game mode you're playing, they give you experience points towards what's called Diamond Dynasty. So then you're able to use those towards your program. And then that program unlocks packs, which unlocks players. And you're able to get all the good players without having to do, investing thousands of dollars. You can still do that. They still allow you to just dump your money in, and you can have all the good cards and have the good players. So when you play online, you're good. But this still allows you to just go out there and build the team that you want. And it's not like every team is the exact same. When you're playing people online, people are using different cards. When you're playing Madden or NHL, the meta in that is if you're not using the best card, that's just pointless. But in MLB, it's like, all right, we'll make 5 or 6 cards that are just a little bit off from each other, and they're one good here, one good there, and then you're able to just choose which card is best for your game style or your swing style. To be totally honest, because everybody's swing is different. There's a player in the game that everybody loves using, and I just couldn't use him. Ketel Marte, I'm like, I couldn't handle his swing. I couldn't hit with them. So it is what it is. So it got me. That's all.
That's so interesting, sorry to cut you. That is so interesting because the formula of so many games are they're like, oh, you can buy if you want, but you don't need to. But 9 times out of 10, you do need to, because you're not going to be able to progress the way that you want to. So I love that. All right, I want to talk to you about one of your favorite series, Assassin's Creed. Now, Assassin's Creed is such an interesting series to me. It's changed into so many different games. What Assassin's Creed was when it started to what it is now is like worlds apart. And they've had some super highs, like with Assassin's Creed 2 and Revelations. They've had some super lows. What was the one in Paris called?
Unity.
Was that Unity?
Yeah,
Unity. And then they're kind of putting their foot in again. So I've got two questions for you. All right. So firstly, what is it about this series that you really love? And secondly, what is your favorite? Spoiler, mine is Black Flag.
Okay. All right. So for me, one of the things I love is I'm a big history guy. So I love the fact that in Assassin's Creed, you're like literally going through time. And they try to stay as historically accurate as possible, considering it's a fantasy Assassin's game, but they have historical characters in it. Like, my favorite is Assassin's Creed 2, and solely because I've been to Rome and I've been to the Colosseum. So when I play Assassin's Creed 2, one, the story of Ezio is one of the best ever in video games, which unfortunately Ubisoft decided to just, I don't know, man. It's a frustration with me how they just did what they did with it. But you're able to go through and see all these great historical characters throughout Assassin's Creed 2. And then when you actually go to Italy or go to Rome, it's so accurate to where you are, because a lot of what Italy has not been, I guess, changed like it is in most major metropolises, like where I live in Toronto. They've pretty much taken all the history and just put up skyscrapers. Well, Italy does the opposite, and they're like, no, we keep our heritage and we just try and build and and build around it. So that's one thing about Assassin's Creed that I love, and I do love the stealth mechanics and being an assassin. And I'm a big check the boxes guy. So for the very first time ever, Valhalla was the first one ever where I was just like, wow, there's too many check boxes on this. But I do love how you're going to get something, and there's always a little carrot at the end that makes your assassin better, or you're upgrading. There's always been that's the system in. So when they put that RPG mechanic and actually put in experience points, it was almost like a natural progression of the game. And now they're going back with Mirage to the old school 13-hour assassin only stealth mechanic that with a awesome story that's going back to its roots, that I'm hoping we're going to get a story like this, like they're having with Mirage. And then we're going to have Infinity, where we're going to have Code Red and Hex, and have these RPG mechanics where if you want this bigger story, but they're going to give you, hey, they did such a good job at writing stories in the game that they need to get back to it and stop worrying about hey, let's have people continuously playing this game and having people come out and going, wow, what a story I just played.
Yeah. All right. So one thing that interests me is how, like, obviously we said how it has progressed. How do you feel about the newer ones? So for me personally, I didn't really like Origins, and it probably upset me because it was Egypt. I thought it was going to grab me, and I didn't like it at all. I liked Odyssey. I enjoyed Odyssey. Felt it was a little bit long. Valhalla's probably been my favorite for a long time. It reminded me of old. What is your favorite of the new series?
So Odyssey for sure. The Greek mythology has just been unbelievable. I had an issue with Valhalla solely based on the ending. And no spoilers here, I won't give anything away. It was you know how there's two endings to the game, right?
Yeah.
Kind of annoyed me because in the previous ones you had the tree and you go on, you kill all the main bad guys, and that gives you your ending. And in this one, you had to like follow that king guy around for like an hour to hut for no reason whatsoever. I just felt like they could have shortened that up into like a cutscene and didn't make me for an hour keep going a different place on the map, jumping off and going and just following and keep going and going along to find out an ending that you obviously already knew. It wasn't like it was like ooh, you got me, Scooby-Doo moment, you're pulling it off and you didn't see this one coming. But that was my biggest frustration, because after 90 hours I put into Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I'm like, seriously, you just did this to me at the end? It was almost like they gave us I used to hate in the old Assassin's Creeds when you used to follow. You just have to follow guys, and if they see you, like, it's over and you got to start all over again, and you're like, oh my God. And when they did this, I'm like, why at the very end of the game to give me the second ending did you do this? I will say this though, Valhalla has been a breath of fresh air for free content. Like Ubisoft has done such a good job on giving free content after they just gave some more DLC. This game's been out for what, 4 years? And they're still dropping DLC on this game. So if you like the world, then I understand that. But for me, Odyssey, just the Cassandra as a character, she was just unbelievable. And I couldn't not spend. That was I platinumed that game. I platinum Origins, and I did not platinum Valhalla because I was like, I'm done.
Probably would have taken you another 50 hours on top of the 90 you already put in. It was so big. All right, how are you feeling about Project Red? Because everyone has been asking forever. They're like, go to Japan, go to feudal Japan, go to old school Japan. That's what we want. And then we got Ghost of Tsushima. Now, for me, Ghost of Tsushima is the best Assassin's Creed game ever made. And I feel like I'm super gassed that they finally decided, yes, we're going to go and do the game that you want. But I also feel like if it doesn't have the polish, if it doesn't live up to what Ghost of Tsushima is, even though it's a completely different franchise, it's going to spoil this game for me.
I think I'm exactly with you there. When I played Ghost of Tsushima for the very first time, after like 8 hours in, I messaged a buddy. I was like, so I just played the best Assassin's Creed game ever. And it's not called Assassin's Creed. And here it is. And like, here's because the art style is so beautiful in the game and everything. Assassin's Creed did what it did for Ghost of Tsushima to take it and run. Like that, it's one of the best games I've played in the last 10 years. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Sony always does that to me. It's kind of funny how their first party exclusives every now and then I'm just like, okay, like if someone was like, hey, what's your favorite games of all time? I'm like, okay, so The Last of Us, Uncharted 2, and like I go over and I'm like, okay, so yeah, I guess they're all Sony games. But I am very curious because when I saw all we got was that image, right, of the assassin on the steeple, and then you see the sword. I'm very curious on how they do the parry system and how we're going to have the combat. My guess is, from what I understand and reading between the tea leaves and the Tom Hendersons of the world when they're leaking stuff and you have to read what they're leaking, Hex is going to be this witchcraft and different style, and Red is going to be almost like this, not Bloodborne, but close enough for the very first time. So I'm guessing it's going to have harder mechanic, and then Hex is going to be this more like witchcraft, spells. Like we're going to be doing stuff with an assassin that we've never done before, which is probably like spells. But if they do it right, then they do it well. But I have a funny feeling, unfortunately, no matter what, expectations are going to be the death of Red. And it's not going to be in a bad way. Assassin's Creed games sell. Like they sell crazy pants. But you still know what the internet's going to do. They're always going to compare it to Ghost of Tsushima. And I don't think it's fair. But it is what it is, right? They did the game that we've all wanted for so many long, and they did it perfect.
Yeah. It's funny as well, because, like, do you remember Tenchu Stealth Assassin?
Yeah.
So Tenchu was like my game. I always loved that. And even when it comes to Ghost of Tsushima, I'm more like ninjas than I am like samurai. So I was just playing that game like I was Tenchu. I was bare stealth assassin, climbing on rooftops. So that's what I always wanted. And I really hope that they can pull it off. All right, cool. We're running out of time. I could speak to you all day long. Like, I like you, my G. Like,
I appreciate that. I like you too.
We've got very similar tastes. Now, you've got a co-host alongside you called Matt from the Burnout Bright podcast. He's my guy, but he's got trash taste when it comes to The Last of Us, all right? His Last of Us taste is completely wrong. Now, we both love both The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, but we both agree The Last of Us 1 is a better game and it's more of an important game. What I want to know from you is, how has it felt replaying The Last of Us Part 1 after playing Part 2?
Playing it as a parent this time around. So that opening prologue, I guess we're going to call it, the opening scenes, and it led to that section. I had to put my controller down for the first time. Now, it got me every playthrough, but this was the first playthrough that it was like, thank you to PlayStation Canada for sending me the game. Like, I had the game early and I'm playing it, and I got it like at like 5 o'clock at night, and I'm like, start playing it. And then I had to put my daughter to bed, and I put her to bed, and I get to that point and I turned off the game, and I said to my wife, I can't play anymore. I just want to hug her. Like, I got so emotionally brought into this game for the very first time. Like, it was a totally different experience. Enough for me to say safely that this is my favorite game of all time because of how much emotion I have felt while playing this video game. I cried at probably 5 or 6 points throughout this game. I even put out a tweet. There's a moment where Joel and Ellie, this is a 10-year-old game, they're up on the building up and they look at the Capitol building in Massachusetts, in Boston, and Ellie goes, "This is so beautiful," and Joel, all he does is look at her, and it killed me because that was the moment he fell in love with her. Like he was trying to be protective for obvious reasons, because of he didn't want to hurt himself because what he's already been through in his life. And he literally at that moment, she says, "Wow, this is so beautiful," and he just stares at her. And you didn't get that on my other playthroughs of the game because you know what? The graphics weren't there yet. I honestly thought when I first played Last of Us on PlayStation 3, it's the best looking game I've ever played. Then I played the remastered on PlayStation 4 and I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievably looking. But then when you play it, the facial expressions that we can see in the characters this time around is unbelievable, and it's almost like a character itself because like you can just see the twinkle in Joel's eye and you could just see him glance over at her, and it's almost like you could see his eyes glaze a little bit and you're like, oh my God. And then there's the other scenes when, you know, Joel grabs Ellie after the fire, and he's just hugging her and there's no words to be said, and all it is mocap, and you can see the actors who are portraying these characters just bring it to life and make that scene so powerful. It was one of the ones that I wanted to share online, but I couldn't, solely based on, you know, that's a huge, you know, red flag that can tell everybody what's going on, but it's so powerful, and there wasn't even words spoken in the scene. And that's how good this game is.
Yeah, it's mad. It's so funny because like what you said at the beginning is I've played it on the same as you, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, and replaying the beginning, I took so long. I was doing everything. I was reading the newspapers. I didn't even know there was a birthday card. I went into the bathroom. Like I was playing as her for so long to prolong what I knew was coming. And it was just making me anxious. And I was getting more, and I'm not even an anxious guy. And I was getting proper anxious just knowing what was going to happen and trying to prolong that experience, even knowing this game's not going to start until you go through that experience. And it was so weird. So when it happened, it hit me the same way. I don't think it hit me anymore. It hit me the same way. But just because I knew it was coming, I was just like, I found it so difficult to get to that point. And then one of the things that really stand out to me is, obviously I played this game so much times, but I haven't played it for a long time. I forgot how cold Joel is to Ellie at the beginning. Because I always think about how much Joel loves Ellie and how Ellie was always the one that kind of pushes back, especially with The Last of Us Part 2. That's the narrative of that game, with Ellie being more cold, and how much Joel loves her. That's just my memory, where I'm like, bro, Joel's cold at the beginds, like proper cold. Like it takes a lot.
Not until Pittsburgh is he nice to her when he hands her the gun. Like not until that point. That's like literally the point he finally gives in.
Yeah, it's so mad, and it's a journey. And like, I know you're not an RPG guy, and you know, like me and Matt love JRPGs, and JRPGs are very much about story centric and making you fall in love with the characters and stuff like that. And I think sometimes in the West it's a bit harder done because games need to be a certain amount of length of time and stuff like this. And I feel like this is the best narrative told in a video game, and
ever.
The emotions and experiences that it takes you through is mad. Cool. We've gone over time. We've passed the limit of the podcast. I could have continued to talk to you for ages. Really love everything that you're doing. But if you wanted to send people, if you wanted to plug something specifically where you want to send people to check out your content, where are you sending them?
Honestly, just follow me on Twitter at Lalonde. I've got my link tree there, and then you'll get my links to Carpool Gaming. We even have Carpool Gaming today. It's Carpool Gaming Day. I have the PlayStation Drive, I have the Xbox A, and I have 3 Dads and a Console. All my links are there, but you can just find me on Twitter, just having a good time.
Yeah, just having a good time and loving all of the consoles. Just like I love you for staying to the end of the video. You are the real MVPs. Let us know in the comments. What are you feeling more? The Last of Us Part 1 or The Last of Us Part 2? Now, there's no wrong answer for that unless you put The Last of Us Part 2. I'm
Yes,
only
facts.
joking. You can love whichever one you want. No spoilers. We don't want to spoil it for people, but just tell us why this is a game that you love. Make sure you go and check out Courts and everything he's doing. Super, super dope content. I'm always watching the PlayStation Drive, one of my favorite shows. So make sure you go over there and show some love. I've been Mr. Midas. He's been Courts. You've been the MVPs. And we out of here. Peace.